Okay, so get this, HP Inc. They just upped their dividend a whole 5%.
Wow.
Yeah, 5%. That's not nothing. So we got to dig into this and see what's going on.
Right.
We've got their latest Form 8K. They're filing with the SEC at a press release breaking down their fiscal year 2024 and Q4 performance.
Yeah, those are dense documents.
Yeah.
So let's unpack them.
So let's start big picture, HP Inc. They made $53.6 billion in revenue in fiscal year 2024.
Huge.
Huge, but down 0.3% year over year.
Tiny.
Tiny.
Yeah.
But while that might sound a little concerning, their earnings per share beat expectations.
They did.
Yeah, so they're reporting $2.81 in GAAP diluted EPS and $3.8 in non-GAAP diluted EPS.
Yeah, and I think this is a good time to just remind folks, what's the difference between GAAP and non-GAAP?
Yeah.
Why should they care?
Please, because I always forget.
Sure. So it's about how companies calculate their earnings.
Okay.
So GAAP stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, and that's like the rule book. Everything's calculated according to these strict standards. Non-GAAP allows companies to exclude certain costs or adjustments like one-time charges.
Okay.
And by looking at both, you get a more complete picture of their core operating performance.
Yeah, like a before and after.
Exactly.
And for HP Inc., both look pretty good.
They do. It's a positive story, especially given the economy right now.
Right, exactly. And then another indicator of their financial health is free cash flow.
Absolutely.
They generated $3.3 billion in fiscal year 2024, which is an 8% jump year over year.
Yeah, that's a lot of cash.
That's a lot of cash they can reinvest or, reward shareholders.
Research and development, strategic
Acquisitions,
yeah. Which brings us back to that dividend increase.
Yes.
Which is now at 0.2894 per share.
It's a pretty clear signal.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think they'd be increasing it if they weren't confident about future profits.
Exactly. They're not just giving away money.
Right.
They think they can sustain this and grow those profits over time. Yeah. Okay, so we've got this healthy overall picture, but let's break it down.
Yeah.
HP Inc. has two main segments, personal systems and printing.
Two big ones.
So how did each perform?
Well, in the fourth quarter, personal systems revenue was up 2% year over year.
Okay.
Driven by strong commercial sales.
Okay.
So this tells us that demand for PCs is still strong.
Interesting.
Especially as hybrid work models continue to gain traction.
I thought with everyone talking about tablets and smartphones that PCs were kind of fading.
Yeah, but they're still essential for a lot of tasks.
Right.
Especially in a professional setting.
Right.
And HP is capitalizing on that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what about printing? Didn't people predict the death of printing like years ago?
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
The pandemic really accelerated the digital shift, but printing is far from obsolete.
Okay.
HP's printing revenue actually grew by 1% year over year in Q4.
Really?
Yeah, and both supplies and consumer printing saw an uptick.
So printing is dead? Is a little premature?
A little bit.
I guess there's still some things we just prefer on paper.
There are.
Okay, so all this paints a picture of a company in a pretty solid financial position.
Yeah.
But there's more, right? They're not just sitting back.
No, they're not resting on their laurels.
So tell me more.
Okay, well, they've been actively repurchasing shares.
Okay.
Spending $2.1 billion in fiscal year 2024. That's another indicator of their confidence in the company.
Yeah, because when a company buys back its own shares, it can boost earnings per share.
Yes.
And signal to investors that they think the stock is undervalued.
It's like they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. And then there's the fact that they returned 96% of their free cash flow to shareholders in fiscal year 2024 through dividends and buybacks.
Wow.
It's a lot.
It's very shareholder friendly.
It is. Okay, so they're financially sound, returning value to shareholders. Sounds like a pretty rosy picture.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. But what about the road ahead?
Yeah.
What's their outlook for fiscal year 2025?
Okay, well, they're projecting growth across all segments.
Okay.
And they anticipate non-GAAP diluted EPS to land somewhere between $3.45 and $3.75.
Okay.
Plus, they're expecting free cash flow to be in the range of $3.2 to $3.6 billion.
Those are ambitious targets.
They are.
They're not resting on their laurels.
No.
Okay, but before we get ahead of ourselves and dive into their plans for the future, let's go back to this GAAP versus non-GAAP.
Yes.
Why does this even matter?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Sometimes companies will use non-GAAP earnings to present a more favorable view of their performance.
Right.
Even if it doesn't strictly adhere to accounting rules.
Yeah.
But to HP's credit, They do provide detailed reconciliations in their financial statements.
Okay.
So you can see exactly how they're calculating both GAAP and non-GAAP figures.
Transparency is key,
Absolutely.
so investors can make informed decisions.
Exactly.
Okay, so to wrap up this part of our deep dive, HP Inc. is demonstrating financial strength and confidence in their future. They're performing well in their established segments
Yes.
and actively returning value to their shareholders.
It seems like it.
But they're not content to simply maintain the status quo.
Nope.
They've set ambitious goals for the future, and we'll get into those in the next part of our exploration.
We will.
Okay, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right, so in part 1, we saw that HP Inc. is on pretty solid financial footing.
Yeah.
But the real excitement is what they're doing to shape the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They've called out some key growth areas in their press release, and that's where we're focusing our attention now.
They're not just random ventures.
Right.
These are carefully chosen areas where they believe they can leverage their strengths and become a dominant force.
They've got a plan.
They do.
So what are these magical growth areas?
Well, first up, you've got 3D printing.
Ooh.
Then there's gaming, hybrid work solutions, workforce solutions, consumer subscriptions, and even industrial graphics.
Wow, that's a range.
It is.
It sounds like they're trying to do everything.
It might seem that way at first glance, but there's a common thread.
Okay.
Each of these areas represents a significant shift in how we live and work.
Okay.
And HP is positioning itself to be at the forefront of these transformations.
All right, I'm intrigued. Let's unpack a few of these. Starting with 3D printing.
Okay.
That one really grabs my attention.
Yeah.
It feels very sci-fi, but it's actually happening now. How is HP planning to make a splash in that space?
Well, they're already a major player in 3D printing,
Okay.
but their ambition goes way beyond just manufacturing printers. They're investing heavily in the materials and software.
Got it.
So it's a whole ecosystem.
So it's not just about the hardware, it's
Yeah.
about building a complete solution for businesses.
Exactly. A complete platform,
Okay.
making it much easier to adopt 3D printing.
Okay, that makes sense, but let's get practical here. How could 3D printing disrupt traditional manufacturing? Like, help me connect the dots.
Okay, well, imagine a world where you can manufacture custom products on demand right where they're needed. You could bypass complex global supply chains, reduce waste, get products to consumers much faster.
So instead of these giant factories overseas,
Right.
you could have smaller, localized production.
Exactly.
That sounds almost revolutionary.
It really could be. It has the potential to reshape the entire manufacturing landscape.
But it also raises some questions.
Of course.
Like, what happens to all the existing factories and jobs if things become that decentralized?
Those are important questions, and it's too early to say for sure how everything will play out.
Right.
But one possibility is that 3D printing could create new jobs and opportunities,
Okay.
especially in areas like design engineering and software development.
It's like a whole new industrial revolution.
Yeah, it is.
But this time it's digital.
Exactly, and that's why it's so fascinating to watch.
All right, let's shift gears to another key growth area.
Okay?
Gaming.
Huge.
It seems like everyone's talking about gaming these days, so I'm not surprised HP wants in on the action.
Yeah, they want to be a top provider of gaming hardware, software, and services. They already have a strong presence with their Omen and Victus brands, which are popular with PC gamers. And they recently acquired HyperX,
Okay.
a well-known maker of gaming peripherals.
So they're building a comprehensive gaming ecosystem.
Yes.
Kind of like with the 3D printing.
It's about creating a seamless, immersive experience for gamers.
Sounds ambitious.
It is.
But the gaming world is pretty competitive. How do they stand out from the crowd?
Well, they're going to have to innovate and offer something truly unique.
Right.
Whether it's pushing the boundaries of hardware design, developing cutting-edge software, creating unique online experiences.
Okay.
HP needs to offer something gamers can't get anywhere else.
All right, we talked about 3D printing and gaming. What about these other key growth areas?
Yeah.
What exactly are workforce solutions and consumer subscriptions?
So workforce solutions involve providing businesses with the tools and services they need to manage their IT infrastructure and devices more efficiently. Think things like secure remote access, automated software updates, and centralized device management.
Got it.
Basically making it easier for companies to support a mobile and distributed workforce.
So it's all about adapting to the new world of work.
Precisely.
Okay.
And then there are consumer subscriptions like HP's Instant Ink program.
Right.
This is a way for them to generate recurring revenue
Okay.
while offering customers a more convenient and affordable way to keep their printers stocked.
It's a win-win.
It is.
It sounds like they've put a lot of thought into these growth areas.
A lot of thought.
But it's still a gamble, right?
Of course. There are always risks when you're venturing into new markets. Competition is fierce, and technology is constantly evolving.
They'll need to be agile.
Yeah,
And they can't be afraid to fail.
absolutely. But their willingness to take these risks and invest in these key areas,
Yeah.
it shows commitment to innovation and a long-term vision.
So they're not just trying to stay afloat. They're trying to ride the wave
Exactly.
of technological change.
And maybe even steer it in a new direction.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah.
What are some of the wider implications of these technological shifts, not just for HP,
Right.
but for society as a whole?
That's a great question, and one we'll be delving into in the final part of our deep dive.
Ooh, a cliffhanger.
We'll explore how these trends are blurring the lines between the physical and digital worlds,
Okay.
and what that means for the future of work, education, and even leisure.
All right, I'm ready to go deeper. Stay with us. Things are about to get really interesting. Okay, so we've talked about HP Inc.'s strong financials, their ambitious plans for growth in these key areas like 3D printing and gaming. But now let's zoom out a little
Yes.
and think about the bigger picture.
The wider implications of these advancements.
Exactly. These aren't just like trends happening within HP.
Right.
This is like a fundamental shift in how we interact with technology.
Yeah, and how it shapes our world.
So HP is like a microcosm of this much larger transformation.
I like that.
What are some of the big picture implications that stand out to you?
Well, one thing that jumps out at me is this idea of convergence.
Oh.
Technologies like 3D printing and AI, they're blurring the lines between the physical and digital.
Right.
Products can now be designed and manufactured digitally, and physical objects can be embedded with sensors and software and connected to the internet.
It's like the line between physical and digital is just becoming less meaningful.
Exactly.
Like everything's interconnected.
It is.
And the possibilities seem endless.
They do. It opens up incredible opportunities for innovation and growth.
Oh, but there are some challenges.
Of course.
Yeah.
We need to think about the ethical implications, the impact on privacy and security, the potential for unintended consequences.
Right. It's like we're stepping into uncharted territory.
We are.
And we need to be mindful of the potential pitfalls.
Absolutely. And this is where HP's focus on sustainability and social impact is really important. As they push the boundaries of technology, they have a responsibility to consider the broader societal implications and ensure their innovations benefit humanity as a whole.
It's not enough to just create new technologies.
Right.
We need to think about how they're going to be used.
How they'll impact our lives.
Exactly. Which brings us to another big implication, the future of work.
Yes. As automation and AI become more sophisticated, a lot of traditional jobs will be disrupted.
And it's not just about technology replacing manual labor anymore.
No.
It's about technology replacing cognitive tasks as well.
Right. We need to rethink how we educate and train our workforce.
Yeah.
We need to focus on developing skills that are uniquely human.
Okay.
Things like creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving.
Skills that machines can't do yet.
Exactly.
So it's not just about learning to code, it's about learning to think critically.
Yes.
Adapt to change.
Collaborate.
Yeah, collaborate in this world where the rules are constantly being rewritten.
Exactly. And this is where HP's efforts to create a more diverse and inclusive workforce are so important.
Okay.
By bringing together people from different backgrounds and with different perspectives, they can foster a culture of innovation and ensure their technologies are developed and deployed responsibly and equitably.
So it's about more than just profits. It's about building a future that works for everyone.
Absolutely. And that's the message I hope our listeners take away from this deep dive.
Yeah. HP's transformation is a powerful example of how businesses can embrace innovation, but also think about the bigger picture.
Yeah, the societal implications.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an insightful journey exploring not just the specifics of HP's financials and their plans, but also these wider trends shaping our world.
As always, we encourage our listeners to continue their own exploration.
Yeah.
Go check out HP's full investor relations website and delve deeper into these topics.
There's so much information out there.
A wealth of information.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into HP Inc. We've covered a lot of ground, from financial statements to the future of technology and its impact on our lives.
Lots to think about.
Lots to think about, and hopefully you're leaving with a better understanding of not just HP Inc., but the forces shaping the world around us.
I hope so too.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.